This video is about loss, and I think it relates very well to this channel, which is directed towards baby boomers, leading edge baby boomers, seniors in general, because we've all experienced loss. You don't get to this age without experiencing loss. This particular loss is the loss of a child. And I think a lot of us have experienced that too. But even if you haven't, you know what loss is about. So the idea to do this, I've always thought that I would do it if I ever started a channel, but the idea came out of a video, a short that I did recently called The Distance Between Lost and Found. And I believe that I was stuck in that distance between lost and found for a very long time. So I will start with what this is about. My daughter, she was 2 years, 9 months and 6 days old, and I have put that on my arm and converted it into days. So that's her name, and that's the number of days that she lived. The death was quite sudden. It evolved over probably a 12-hour period, and clearly it was devastating. There is no other word to put to it. It's devastating to lose a child. You just don't expect it. And quite honestly, I wasn't entirely sure that I was going to make it through. I think if I hadn't had my son, who was about 2.5 years older, I don't know that I would have made it. I had my husband too, but without my son, with my son, you have to carry on. And I don't know whether I could have carried on without him. I don't know. So anyway, I found myself basically in this void for many years. And I didn't even know that I was in this void. I had no idea. I thought I had dealt with everything and I was dealing with everything. But the truth is, we moved 4 or 5 times in that period. And I found that when I went to new places and came across people who didn't know, I didn't tell them anything. So for a lot of time in those 25 years, we were with people who didn't even know that we had experienced this kind of loss. Some people would say things like, "Oh, you've got a large gap between your first and your second," and I would just say, "Oh yeah, I know," and I didn't explain why there was a larger than normal gap between them, because I will say, I did have 2 more children. And they and my older son are an absolute blessing in my life. They help keep me going, all of them. So, but anyway, I was still in the void. And as I said, we had moved several times. So over those years, most people didn't even know that we had experienced a loss. And as I put it in the short that I did, until someone did. And that came about, I don't know if it was a weird way, I'm not sure, but there was a priest who lived in the small town that we were in when Helen died, and he was really, really helpful to us. We both knew him. He was involved in, I believe, scouting or Cubs, I'm not quite sure, but we knew him quite well. And over the years, he was a priest. I don't know if I said that. I might be repeating myself. We found ourselves in a town, and I had decided that I wanted to maybe go back to church. I'd gone as a child, and I thought that I would like to go back to church. And it turns out that this same priest was at that church. Now, you might say that's, oh, what a coincidence. Well, I don't believe in coincidences. I absolutely, that was meant to be. We were meant to go to that church at that time. So we got involved with the church. I actually ended up working there. I was the parish secretary for several years. But about 3 years after we arrived there, I was at a retreat. And I'm not going to name the retreat because it's a whole other story and it isn't relevant to this. But there were all women there. There were two retreats and the men went on a different weekend to the women. But it was quite intense and I was feeling the emotions. And this friend that I knew quite well, she said to me, "We know." And that was it. And she clearly knew because she had been told, because I wasn't telling people. So the floodgates opened, the talking began. And I'm not saying that I found my way out of this void immediately, but boy, did that help. That was made an immense change in my life because now, all of a sudden, I could talk about it. And I could talk to her and her husband about the loss, about how it affected me, my husband, and my son. And it was so important to be able to talk about it. So, as I said, it didn't move out of the void immediately. But what I eventually learned, and this is me, this is my learning, is that she was never really lost. She was just out of reach. And this is what I believe today. I believe that while the body dies, the soul lives on. I don't know if that goes against the Christian religion, but this is, I firmly believe this now. She's around me, as are others that have passed on. She's there with me, just out of reach. So that's how I got out of the void. What I would suggest to anybody who's in this position, I had 3 takeaways, but I can only remember this one and partially another one. But don't let years go by without dealing with this. Don't not talk, because not talking and not telling people about what's gone on in your life doesn't make it go away. It's still there. And sometimes it festers. It's always there. So go through a grieving process. We all go through a grieving process. But don't turn your back on it and pretend that it didn't happen, because that's what I did. Talk about it. And if you don't have a friend to talk to about it, see a therapist. It just needs to be acknowledged. That's the way I see it now. And the other thing I didn't say, and I'm going to say this again, the friend who said those words to me, "We know," I told her yesterday, because we're in a different town, both of us, and we're both attending the same church in a different town, because we're both in the same different town that we moved to a few years ago. So we lived in one town and now we both live in another town. I, again, do not believe that is a coincidence. So Something just happened in the screen behind me and I have no idea why, so I'm sorry. I just lost the train. So, as I said, I talked to her yesterday and I reminded her of those words, and quite honestly, I don't think she had any idea how instrumental she had been at that time. So, I'm going to leave the other points. I will talk about them on another video, most likely. I just wanted to, if this if this only helps one person who watches this video, then it's worth doing this. I said I would only do it once, and it is unscripted. I have done it a couple of times now because bloopers everywhere. Um, so I think it's worth doing. I think it's worth putting out. And I do believe that it will help people. So thank you so much for watching. My name's Linda. I am a leading edge baby boomer, and as I say at the end of all my videos, I'm not done yet, and it's true. Thank you so much for watching. This is a postscript to the video that you just watched. I just want to say that I have no idea where the fireworks came from at minute 10 or where the thumbs up came from at minute 11. I didn't do anything. I wasn't touching anything. They just popped up. I think I kind of noted that at the 10-minute mark. I didn't respond to the thumbs up. The 10-minute mark came exactly as I was saying the word coincidence. And I just have to think that I wasn't alone while I was recording that video. I know I've said I'm never alone, and I don't believe we ever are, but I think I was being shown there that I was not alone. I just wanted to add that, and I'll thank you again for watching. Thank you.